What it is, baby! Episode 160. Let me zip this up just a tad. Now it's stuck. There we go, we're good. Hair's down a little too much. Zipper down a little too much, but not the kind that you would think. You know what I mean? One time in college, man, I gave a entire presentation with my fly down. And I remember the damn professor called me over after I was done. Respect him not stopping me in the middle because, he didn't want to mess up my flow or whatever. But he called me over and he was like, looking straight up at me the whole time. He didn't look down. He was like, son, your fly's down. He just had the most stern look on his face. And I was like, damn, man. I don't know what made me think of that. I guess zipping up my quarter zip. We got a good show today. Get some people popping in here. Some early keys to Super Bowl 60 today. And I haven't been quiet about it. I got the Patriots. The more I read about the Super Bowl, the more I speculate on what might happen, the more I'm kind of starting to second guess myself a little bit. And kind of think, can this Seahawks defense rattle this young Patriots team? Mike Vrabel was in a press conference today talking about how the next 48 hours will be pivotal for the Patriots. I noticed, too, that Lane Kiffin had a press conference today. I guess it's signing day press conference. And so we'll get to that as well. Address some of Lane Kiffin's comments about how he felt like the recruiting trail went for LSU. And I figured those couple topics would take up most of our time today. We're going to have a semi-short show, probably be with you for the next 30 minutes or so. So grab yourself a cold beverage, ideally a water, because you got to stay hydrated, and hang with us for a little bit. Hang with us for a lot of bit. Keys to Super Bowl 60. Seattle Seahawks defense need to increase blitz rate to unsettle Drake May. In their two postseason games, Seattle's blitz rate has shrunk by more than half to just 12.8%. Mike McDonald dialed up just 10 blitzes on 78 combined passing snaps in their wins over San Francisco and the Rams. Defenses have typically needed to employ more pass rushers than usual to get under Drake May's skin. He's got a passing grade when blitz that is fairly standard. And when May comes under pressure against the blitz, opponents bring him down at the 6th highest rate of any quarterback. And the names above him are either aging veterans, Aaron Rodgers, Geno Smith, or starry-eyed rookies, Cam Ward and Tyler Shuck. Seattle's known for having one of the most advanced coverage units in football. Their GM built the Legion of Boom, and he's now built this secondary in Seattle with really no superstars to account for. That's really the story of both of these teams in the Super Bowl. There's not that many superstars. You got Diggsy on the Patriots. I don't even know if you've got a real superstar type of guy, JSN, on Seattle. One receiver on either side. But I feel like the story of this Super Bowl is the story of no superstars. Does that indicate where our game is at? You know, in this age of social media, influencer, NIL, you know, we always talk about how NIL and college football bleeds into pro football. I truly believe that. And it's going to continue to affect pro football. And so the two teams you've got in the Super Bowl, neither of them really have superstars like that. So I think one of the keys to the game is going to be whether New England can dial up creative enough blitzes to get Drake May rattled. And on the other side of that, I was listening to Mike Vrabel talking to press conference today, how he was saying that the next 48 hours are going to be absolutely instrumental to his team in the Super Bowl. And I would say that another thing that's absolutely instrumental for New England is for Drake May. This goes without saying, but we're a football show where we talk about football. Seattle is going to try to attack New England with creative stunts, creative pressures, and they're also going to try to disguise coverages. I guarantee you, for the last 2 weeks in Seattle's facility or wherever they're game planning for this thing, they're in Santa Clara now, practicing at San Jose State. I guarantee you the conversation that is going down between Mike McDonald, his defensive coordinator, and their defense is that Drake May is in his second year as a pro. And we are, talking about Seattle, we are a defensive unit that is able to throw exotic stunts at quarterbacks like Drake May. And on top of that, we're going to be able to disguise coverages. We're going to be able to confuse this kid early on and get him ruffled so that he doesn't play to his best for the entirety of the game. That's what Seattle wants to do. So it's going to be a chess match. Obviously, it's a Super Bowl at the highest level. It's a championship game at the highest level of football. So Mike Vrabel knows that. This is all a cat and mouse game. Mike Vrabel knows that. And so what New England's going to be doing is emphasizing protection, emphasizing communication between Drake May and his offensive line, because a lot of times the casual fan sees a quarterback get sacked in an NFL game, and they say, oh, well, if only the offensive line was better. The offensive line messed up there. A lot of times, it isn't always the offensive line that messed up. It isn't. That's not always the case, right? The O-line will mess up. But sometimes the quarterback fails to slide the protection a certain way. The quarterback is the guy that can see everything. He can see whether the linebacker's walking up. He can see a bit of body language in that safety that he noticed on film when the safety's, I'm just spitballing, when the safety's front foot is up, you know, or when his right foot is forward, he's coming. The quarterback needs to be able to see those things, point them out, and then adjust the protection accordingly. So sometimes people assume quarterback gets sacked. Oh, offensive line mess up. Sometimes it's the quarterback. And a lot of times this happens with younger quarterbacks. So I picked the Patriots. I'm probably going to stand on my pick for now. But it's going to start with New England's protection. It's going to start with Drake May making sure that his protection is dialed in each play. And this Seattle defense, I mean, the farther you get in these playoffs, the tougher the defenses get. The New England's facing the toughest defense they've probably seen all season. New England's taken down 3 of the statistically top 5 defenses in pro football just in their playoff run alone. I posted a clip about this a couple days ago where there were people questioning New England because the winning percentage of all the teams they played in the regular season was in the 300s. But now, all of a sudden, when the lights come on and the pressure's on, this group has found a way to get it done against 3 of the top 5 defenses in the league, and they'll be facing the 4th here on Sunday. So the most instrumental thing for New England, in my mind, is going to be pass protection. Because if Drake May gets flustered early on, it might be a long night. It might be a bad take by me to have the Patriots. What's the next key? New England Patriots offense. Hunt for explosive plays on straight dropbacks. There's been no more dangerous offense in the league this year on the most basic, common, standard shotgun dropback than the New England Patriots. New England's 19.4% explosive pass play rate on straight dropbacks is the second highest of any offense since the high-octane 2018 Kansas City Chiefs. In reality, the Patriots' ground game prospects look bleak in this matchup. Going on long, sustained drives of 10 plays or more just isn't sustainable when you can't rely on your rushing attack. This is a PFF article that I'm reading. And I don't know if I agree with that. You got Trevion Henderson and you got Ramondre Stevenson back there. You really have a young two-headed dragon in the New England backfield. And again, these guys are young. I think Ramondre Stevenson's in his second year and Trevion Henderson's a rookie. Seattle's got Seattle's probably got the best. I know they've got the best defense in football. And so I think whoever wrote this PFF article is just assuming, since they're a top defense, that they're going to automatically bottle up the run. They've got a good front. They've got Leonard Williams. They've got a couple other guys that have really played well. So it might not be a bad take to say that New England's run game won't be there. But I don't think it's fair to just assume that. I don't think it's fair to just assume that right out of the gate. But it's also very feasible. So if the run game is bottled up for New England, then yes, explosive plays are going to be absolutely paramount for them to find a way to win this game. But also, they really seem to like Diggs on late downs, short yardage. Who wouldn't? Little pivot route, little slant, quick balls, get it out. So I bet that is New England's game plan. I think New England will try and go to the run early. It'll probably get bottled up, and they're going to have to settle for more straight drop backs like this article's talking about. And he's going to have to find Boutte. He's going to have to find Diggs. Maybe Mac Hollins. Maybe Hunter Henry. New England loves to grab just 4 yards, 5 yards, and call it a play on these late downs with short yardage. I don't disagree that the run game prospects look bleak in this game. Seattle's got the best defense in football, but I don't think we should completely write off New England's run game in this. They've got 2 really good backs that have been really consistent for them all year. Seattle Seahawks offense, identify man coverage and feed JSN. Seattle wants to impose a run-first play style. They're 9th in early down rushing this season. But when New England shows man coverage, Seattle's going to need to get bold. They're going to need to be willing to get bold. JSN absolutely terrorizing quarterbacks in man-to-man coverage all season long. If you got man coverage on this guy, good luck. It seemed like in the NFC Championship game that whenever JSN wanted to get open, didn't matter how LA game planned it, doesn't matter how they covered it, he always seemed to find a way to find himself open. Can't be the case. Like if I'm running the defense for New England this game, I might just be okay with putting 2 safeties up top and having shell coverage all game. Just let JSN run a couple dig routes for 10 yards. Let's tackle him. Let's move on to the next play. See if we can force a turnover or 2. Now, Sam Darnold's done an incredible job of not turning the ball over the last couple games. I just wouldn't run man coverage if I was New England. Not with JSN. Maybe you bracket JSN. Maybe you can put 2 guys on him if you do want to go man coverage. But if we're in shell coverage, if we're in shell, then the safeties will be less inclined to be involved in the run game. They won't be in as good a position to be involved in the run game, which might open up Kenneth Walker as the bell cow feature back for Seattle. Charbonnet, he's gone. Seattle no longer has that 2-headed dragon in the running game. I would argue that Charbonnet was their number 1 guy in the backfield for the majority of this season. Kenneth Walker is a guy that's played great ball and been very valuable to Seattle, but it seemed like he kind of took a back seat to Charbonnet this year. Miss Lindsay, shout out to Miss Lindsay in the chat. Shout out to Naylor in the chat. She's got Chiefs. Miss Lindsay's got Chiefs fatigue. Patriots have been there a lot, but this team of Patriots is new. Yeah, it's one of the youngest teams in the league. Dare I say the youngest team in the league. You got a second-year quarterback, both running backs, Travion Henderson, a rookie, and Ramondre Stevenson in his second year. You know, you got Diggsy, you got Stephon Diggs, who has been around the block. He's one of the veterans. And Mike Vrabel has talked about Stephon Diggs' leadership in that locker room and totally debunked the misconception that somehow he's not a team guy. He's a guy that holds everybody together. But if New England wants to run man coverage, they want to walk some of these safeties down and get them involved in the run game. They're going to need to bracket JSN the entire time. Now, what happens then? Then Cooper Kupp might get involved. Then a couple of those other guys for Seattle might get a bit more involved. I would guess if New England does this thing right, that JSN gets bottled up, and that you see higher production from some of the other Seattle receivers or higher production from Kenneth Walker, because I think the only way that you bottle Jackson Smith and Jigba up in this Super Bowl game, if you're New England, is if you just run shell coverage too high and you accept only having six or seven guys in the box to defend the run game. And so then it's going to fall on Kenneth Walker to produce and be the bell cow. He played great against L.A. I mean, he ripped off a couple of big ones against L.A. in the NFC Championship game. So that'll be interesting. Sam Darnold's passer rating when looking JSN's way against man coverage is 146.6. That's almost perfect, I think, compared to 116.9 when opponents sit in zone, which is still extremely impressive. So it's up to, and this is obvious, but it's up to Sam Darnold and Clint Kubiak to identify when they've caught New England in man. New England's got Christian Gonzalez and Carlton Davis at corner, and they both have impressive seasons. But neither, according to this source, has boasted a strong resume in man coverage. Gonzalez is a wonderful athlete, but may not be suited to a receiver as crafty as JSN. Davis is graded. I don't give a shit about grades. Interesting. Very interesting. And I was thinking about this too. Clint Kubiak, the offensive coordinator for Seattle, is in line to become the next head coach of the Las Vegas Raiders. We watched as Texas A&M in college football, and their offense completely sputtered in the first round of the playoff this year against the U, as their offensive coordinator, whose name I can't remember at the time, had already accepted to go be the head coach at Kansas State, I believe. And that offensive coordinator coached Texas A&M through that playoff disappointment exit in the first round for Texas A&M. And a lot of people wondered if the offense didn't play worse because they knew their guy was 1 foot out the door. And so I wonder, with Clint Kubiak as the offensive coordinator in Seattle, with 1 foot out the door, getting ready to become the head coach of the Las Vegas Raiders, I wonder whether that will affect Seattle's offense or not. These are professionals. These are older guys. They understand the business aspect of it. It might not affect them as much. But if you watch this Super Bowl and you notice that Seattle's offense is not playing as well as they have in the past couple games or throughout the season, you might want to take a look at the situation underneath with Clint Kubiak heading out, 1 foot out the door. Just something to think about. New England's defense, you got to take away Sam Darnold's first read. Sam Darnold's not the same quarterback who once struggled in a multitude of areas. His effectiveness has no noticeable drop-off against certain coverage structures or pass rush approaches. Disguising coverage shells and mixing up assignment responsibilities has brought little to no impact on Darnold's high quality. Okay. The one area where Sam Darnold both looks and grades out as the same quarterback we saw struggle with the Jets is when you force him away from his first read. So how could New England go about doing that? When looking beyond his primary target, Darnold has thrown just 4 touchdowns and 3 interceptions. Places in the inside top 10 in turnover-worthy play rate, and his yards per attempt drops right down to around the league average. This is useful information for Patriots cornerbacks. Their concept identification is obviously much more advanced. Additional dose of outside leverage on the perimeter could unsettle Darnold as he looks fine. So, if we're playing outside leverage, that means if I'm the corner, if I'm the outermost guy, the sideline I'm trying to push guys away from the sideline. The sideline is my friend. If I'm playing inside leverage, I want to push to the sideline. I want to push to my other guys on the outside. Outside leverage seems to be the key here. I'm just reading this article. This is interesting. Let's move on. There was a press conference today. It's signing day. And Lane Kiffin met with the media for the first time in a long time. Lane Kiffin signed the number one transfer portal class ever, combined with high school recruiting, 3 quarterbacks, 4 running backs, 10 receivers, 9 offensive line, 2 tight ends, 6 defensive line, 2 linebackers, 3 defensive backs, 3 specialists, which equals out to 60 new players for LSU, 13 new coaches. Biggest roster turnover ever. Number one portal class, ranked highest ever. And I remember the first couple weeks when Lane Kiffin took the job at LSU, especially Ole Miss fans were very vocal about the fact that everybody was coming back to Ole Miss, even though Lane was trying to recruit them away. And it was the first week or two after Lane Kiffin left Ole Miss the way he did, it looked very bad for Lane Kiffin. It seemed like obviously when you leave a school that is still in the playoff, a school that beat Georgia in a game that nobody expected them to win, not even Lane Kiffin, the constructor of that roster, and the head coach, former head coach, expected Ole Miss to beat Georgia. And it seemed like the more time that passed, the worse Lane Kiffin looked. Well, all of a sudden we bat our eyes, and he signed the greatest portal class ever, according to this document. Well, I had this document made. This is what Lane Kiffin said in the press conference. So take all of this with a grain of salt. This is coming from Lane Kiffin's mouth. So some of what's going to be said off of this outline is going to be biased. Okay. So here's what it says. Almost if you were in the NFL and took the draft class and free agency at the same time a year and looked at them together, that's the way to look at it now. It's pro football. This is pro football, semi-pro football, whatever you want to call it. Minor league football, it's pro football. So, in the NFL, you have your draft class, and then you have your free agents. Transfer portals, free agency, high school recruits are the draft class. But I think college football right now is much more heavy on the transfer portal, free agency side. In the NFL, you want to build in the draft, and obviously you're going to have high school prospects that are going to turn out to be great players. I can't imagine being a high school prospect in football right now. Trying to get schools' attention. I mean, it was hard enough when it was 2014, 2015, and I was trying to get walk-on offers from places. I was sending my film everywhere. And you probably send your film to 100 coaches and maybe 3 or 5 would respond. Now these coaches are spending all their time recruiting. You've got general managers in place. A guy named Billy Glasscock is the GM at LSU. And Kiffin decided to come to LSU over other offers because of the financial plan. Not just the money, but how the money was structured and managed. Again, this is from Lane Kiffin himself. Okay, I'm reading my outline here. He took this job because the financial plan was different than other offers. Money available. Okay, this doesn't really fit into our discussion. Sam Leavitt's going to be the quarterback there. that was announced. He's got an injury that'll sideline him from team drills in spring. Trying to make a macro point here, but not sure if it's going to come. Louisiana in-state recruiting, culture-driven recruit. Okay, this is an interesting part of college football, and I got to split to wrestling practice here, probably in 5 minutes. We've been rolling for 30 minutes. I am sweating, but I feel like this is an important thing. Maybe this is the final thing that we cover today. We'll continue to cover the Super Bowl as we get closer. We'll have a show tomorrow. We'll have a show Friday. Friday will be the culmination where I make my final prediction for the Super Bowl. I feel like I'm going to sit on the hill I'm on because I don't like flip-flopping my take. I took the Patriots. But the more information I see, I think this is going to be a great Super Bowl. I think it's going to be a close, competitive game. You got a young team in New England and a new coach going up against an older Seattle team that has been built through trial and fire. Their GM's done an incredible job. He's probably one of the best GMs in football over there in Seattle. He's built that defensive backfield that's proven to be the most valuable piece of that Seattle team, and I don't even think that's a question other than the star receiver they got. And who is really who at the end of the day, guys, I'd love to hear everybody's take on this. Who is the real wide receiver you? Who is it? You got some people saying Ohio State. You got other people saying LSU. You got some other people saying Alabama. Who is the real wide receiver you? Is it Kentucky? No, I'm just kidding. Who is the real wide receiver you? I would say, man, do I need to make a take on this, or should I let everybody else answer? Maybe I'll clip that and post it to Instagram, see what people say. Because you know my answer is going to be SEC, but you got Ohio State guys chiming in. You know, Chris Olave, okay. JSN for sure. Garrett Wilson, okay. You know, you got Jeremiah Smith coming out of there, but he hasn't played down in pro football. Can't guard Michael Thomas. I don't know if that guy ever reached his potential or not. I don't know. I like LSU as wide receiver U. I like Bama as wide receiver U, but I don't think they're going to be wide receiver U anymore. I think we're talking Saban era if you want to answer Bama for wide receiver U, which at this point is historical. It's not current day. But who is the real wide receiver you? Naylor said lowest Super Bowl viewership in the past decade. How do we know that? It hasn't happened yet. How do we know that? I know I'm not going to watch the freaking halftime show. I'm not going to expose myself to that liberal bullshit. You know what I mean? I'm not going to subject myself to that degeneracy. This feminist family undermining narrative that all the big organizations want to push for whatever reason. The NFL, we talked about this the other day, they've done an incredible job of alienating their core audience. And it's so funny that, like, I always kind of scoff at this time of year. I am going to have to split in a second, guys, but I always scoff at this time of the year because everybody wants to tune in now. That it's the cool thing to do. Ooh, Super Bowl. Oh my gosh, I'm in the marketing department of this chic PR firm. And my boss just told me that we're all going to the Super Bowl to network. Yay, sports ball. Get the fuck out of my face. Let the real fans come down to the Super Bowl, man. I don't know who's in charge of that, but the thing about it is it's all about the corporate sponsors. It's all about the people who line the pockets of these Epstein list NFL executives. You know, it's not about anything more than that. It's not really about the fans. It's not really about the sport. You know, I would hope that this show would stand for the opposite of a lot of the things that the Super Bowl stands for, or the NFL stands for these days. It's very difficult to navigate these things at times, but you know, at the end of the day, it is just ball. Like we have a show where we're incentivized to talk about these things. I don't ever want to be the type of guy that sells out my beliefs for clicks. And I just don't really have an opinion on the Epstein stuff that's coming out with all these people involved in the NFL. I don't really have an opinion on it. It doesn't affect me. You know, I like to joke, you know, I just joked about the corporate side of the NFL and stuff, but that's not going to get fixed. You know, it's going to stay the same, if not get worse. And the reason NFL feels comfortable alienating their core audience, quite frankly, is that the product is so powerful that they know, even if they put all this gay, you know, anti-patriarchy rhetoric out there, that, you know, people like me are you know, it might mute the halftime show, definitely mute the halftime show, but then I'm still going to watch the game because I love ball. You know, the NFL's smart. They haven't gotten to where they've gotten without understanding these things very deeply. And so the only reason that they feel comfortable alienating their own audience is because they have such a powerful product. Football is a very powerful, beautifully positive thing. That's why we talk about it every day on here. And they know that somebody like me is going to still watch the game, even though there's a gentleman during the halftime show that's wearing a dress because he wants to make a political statement against ICE. Oh, let me talk about ICE, even though I have 15-foot gates outside of my residency to keep people out. You know, we're on stolen land, all this stupid takes, man. All these stupid-ass takes. This has turned into a Red Pill show really fast, ain't it? I got to run, guys. This has been fun. We're going to continue to talk about the Super Bowl. We really only have, after this show, 2 shows left. 2 episodes left until we are officially in the off season. It's a daunting thing. But you know, we got the Super Bowl this weekend. I've got my jiu-jitsu competition on Saturday. It's my first one. So there's a lot of uncertainty, a lot of kind of, I don't want to say emotions around that, but I want to get that done. And then we'll officially, we'll watch the Super Bowl on Sunday, and then we'll officially move into the off season. And at that point, I'll feel real comfortable getting some guests on here, maybe incorporating some call-ins. I know I've talked about that for weeks at this point, but it seems like we're at a major transition point, not just with the football season wrapping up, but with the show as well, because the season wrapping up affects our show. So expect a lot more of that. We're going to find a way to stay rolling each weekday, Monday through Friday, as it stands. I can't imagine us stepping back from that. You know, I pray to God that it doesn't get so dry at a certain point this off season that we have to say, oh, well, let's do 3 a week until the season, or, you know, God forbid 1 a week. I don't see that happening. But it does get dry in the off season. We start talking about Joe Burrow's what color he's going to bleach his hair or whatever. I mean, those NFL headlines in mid-July, early August are just brutal, insufferable. So finding a way to do a daily show, we're probably going to need to get some other people involved. I feel comfortable with this as a solo production, but we're always trying to improve, always trying to get better. So let me know whatever you guys want me to talk about in the chat, I guess. All right, we're gonna get it going here. I'm gonna go to wrestling practice. Last hard practice for me tonight, I would guess, until we go into battle on Saturday. My first jiu-jitsu matches are going down on Saturday in Mesa, Arizona. So ultra heavyweight, gonna be some big boys. And we're just going to try to get him gassed out and feel confident in my gas tank, my cardio, and we're gonna push. I think one more good time tonight before we kind of cut it back. Drill only on Thursday and Friday, and then go into this competition fresh on Saturday. I will see you guys tomorrow, and we'll talk more about all of this. Love you. Bye. Subscribe, like and subscribe, like and subscribe, like and subscribe. Do it.